3.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Idiomatic Top 3.
With Nicholas, I am the gaming correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic and movie critic. So, today we're going to talk about remakes, we're going to talk about the mechanics, and later on we're going to do our top 3 remakes that we want to see. But before we do that, let's go into something I like to call show and tell.
Alright, here it is.
Wow. Now, instead of recommending remakes, which we're going to do on another episode, we thought we'd recommend original movies remade or that have been remade. Or being remade or that have been remade. I don't know what we decided on.
Either or, that are currently being remade, that are going to be being remade that we know of. Okay,
Yep.
Don't just recommend any movie and say hopefully in the future it's going to be remade.
Yeah. Alright, so why don't you get us started, Nick?
I'm going to recommend Highlander. A movie with Christopher Lambert and Sean Connery that's going to be remade. It's a good movie. It's good fun. It's a little campy, but it's good action. And it's about immortals fighting for a prize. They have to chop their heads off. And it's really fun. You have flashbacks from the past because they're immortal. They've lived a very long time. You see what happened in their past. And it has, very good fun. It was a good starting point for a series that kind of spiraled downwards afterwards. But it's an enjoyable movie. What about you, Dimitri?
Well, I'm going to recommend Clue, because that's going to be remade. That they've just announced that's been greenlit, which seems such an odd idea. But the 1985 movie Clue, which is based on the board game, that stars Tim Curry and a whole bunch of great comedians. It's a great movie. It's a murder mystery parody, as you would expect a Clue movie to be, and the jokes are actually really funny. I highly recommend it. The DVD has an option for it that's pretty neat, because when the movie came out in 1985, there were 3 or 4 different endings filmed for it, and different theaters had different endings. So depending on which theater you went to, you would get a different ending to the movie Clue.
Okay.
When it came out in video cassette, VHS, those are the plastic things with film strips in them, and they're black, and you put them in a VCR.
Yeah, and they get stuck sometimes, and you have to pull them out.
And when you rewind, you can't skip scenes. Anyway, kids, it's before your time. But when it came out on home video that way, they just put all 3 endings together with Tim Curry going like, "That's what happened," and it was like, "No, that's not what happened. That's what happened," and he would do that 3 times to show all the endings. Yeah. But the DVD now has that way of doing it, but also has the option of random ending generator, which when you watch the movie, it just picks a random ending to it, which I think is pretty cool.
And all endings work? There's no flaw in cheating in any of them?
Well, it's Clue. It barely makes sense. It's a comedy, you know. I mean, the ending makes sense in context, but it's like there's no real way of guessing it because it's just a big fat comedy.
Yeah,
it's pretty funny. It's a hilarious movie. Tim Curry in it is really, really funny. So I recommend that.
Okay.
All right, well, let's get to our little discussion proper, and we'll be back after these words from our sponsors. And we're back.
Not a lot of money coming in, right, Dimitri?
Exactly. Just not a lot of money. And we're back and ready for our top 3 remakes that we want to see. And that's why Dennis is just not invited to this conversation, because he doesn't want to see any of them.
Yes. None at all.
None. But no, we thought it over, and there's actually quite a few movies that we thought was like, you know what? I would want to see that being remade.
Yeah. So, what's your number 3, Dimitri?
I'm starting. All right. My number 3 remake is the Star Wars prequels. I'm putting them all together so that I don't go like, Return of the, Revenge of the Sith, Part 2. It's like, all the Star Wars prequels. I actually would love to see those. This is a case of missed opportunities. Sometimes you see an original movie, you see so much potential in the ideas and whatnot, and it just doesn't work out for various reasons. Stilted acting, pedestrian writing,
bad directing.
Yeah, racist stereotype, goofy digital character. All of these things, and the thing with the prequels in particular for me is I think George Lucas sort of missed where the charm was of the original Star Wars trilogy. it's missing a Han Solo character. It's missing a rebel. Because the whole thing with the original Star Wars, what makes it charming is that they're all rebels. They're people who don't listen to other people. And that makes them fun to follow around because they squabble, they make wrong decisions, because they're hard-headed, and they keep, they keep crapping on each other.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the dynamic that makes it charming. And when you watch the prequels, that's what's missing. Everybody's a little bit too prim and proper. I would love to see a remake of those prequels that, well, first of all, tie in a little bit more coherently with the original trilogy, but also has that sense of fun with the characters that are a little bit more lively.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be great. Yeah, the episode 1, I went into it and it was like cool special effects, but I still came out kind of disappointed. And honestly, episode 3, I went to see because I want to see how it ends. Yeah. I want to see how it's going to tie up because I really was not excited at all to see episode 3. It's like, let's just get this over with. And it'd be great if they were remade.
Yeah. And I was stressed. I don't think they're terrible. I think they have a lot of good ideas that are just sort of drowned in mediocrity.
Yeah, they're going through the motions, it feels like.
Yeah.
Let's get we have this point, let's get to point B. Let's just do it.
Because the overall story is not bad. Like, the way Palpatine sort of takes over the Republic and turns it into an empire is actually, that's a good story. Yeah. I would actually keep most of the plot the same. It's really just the execution and the nature of the characters.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. And you're number 3.
Dune. I saw that movie. It made no sense. I watched it again. It made no sense again.
Which version did you see, though? Because there's like several versions of Dune.
The one with Patrick Stewart. And what's it?
No, I mean, there's several edits of that movie.
The original one. The one that was...
The theatrical edit?
The theatrical edit, yes. Okay. It took me 3 times to understand that movie. Mm-hmm. And I love science fiction, and it has good concept. And when I actually sat down with somebody that read the book, and he explained to me point by point, while pausing the movie, every time, okay, this is what's happening here, and this is what's happening there. Yeah, it's pretty good, but it's only for fans of Dune that have read the book and that can understand, what's happening. It has a good potential. You just need to cut certain ideas from the book and just make it so that it fits in the 2-hour time slot, and that people don't walk out, of that thing wondering what the hell just happened here.
Or go the Lord of the Rings route of just making 3 movies.
Yeah.
Because there's the built-in audience for it. They could get away with it.
Yeah, that's true. Because it seems very interesting. The way my friends were explaining everything to me is like, oh, that's why you do this, that's why you do that. And it's like a bunch of in-jokes, I'm guessing. A bunch of, blanks of this. They're doing this because it's in the book. And, it doesn't really make that much importance to the story. But we're still going to mention it just to confuse people that don't know what the hell's happening. It's very hard to watch.
Yeah. Did you see the made-for-TV miniseries of Dune? Did you like that?
It took its time a little more. I thought the acting was like really subpar.
Okay.
But having seen the movie and understanding it, I could follow it better. And yeah, I enjoyed it a little more besides the acting. But yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
It was a lot longer too. They didn't try to cram everything into 2 hours.
Yeah, well, that's why I mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. Take a little more of your time, make it better, and maybe 2 movies, 3 movies.
I love whenever you give advice. It's like, make it better. And I know that you're a teacher too. I know that you're a teacher on the graduate level. Yeah. And I keep imagining your students going like, so how do you do this? Well, just do it better.
Okay. If they want to ask me about programming and observational astronomy, I will tell them how to make it better. I am not a film writer. I cannot give them more advice than that on making it better. And after you've thoroughly made fun of me, what is your number 2 choice?
My number 2, don't worry, you'll have plenty of chance to make fun of me when we get to my top one. But my number 2 choice is Troll 2.
Really?
Yeah. Troll 2, for those of you who don't know, is the sequel to Troll, but not really. It's actually Goblins that they renamed Troll 2. And it's a really, really low budget horror movie. It's by this Italian director, but filmed in the heartland of America.
Oh.
And there was a documentary about it called Best Worst Movie, because it has sort of garnered a cult following as this awful, awful movie that reaches so bad that it's awesome.
Okay.
And I can see where that's coming from, but I think it's a very hipsterish way of looking at it. I'm a very big fan of B movies, as I mentioned, and when I watch Troll 2, I actually like it because I like it. I actually think there are good ideas there.
Okay.
It's a movie about evil vegetarian goblins who try to force people to eat their crazy, milky vegetarian products so that these people can turn into vegetables so that they can eat them afterwards. It's a really messed up idea, and of course it's an obvious analogy to the way that veganism can sometimes propagate like a self-righteous trend.
Yeah.
It's a very open commentary on that. And
Amen to that.
yeah, well, you hate vegetarians, so you would love Troll 2. But the problem with it is that it has a terribly small budget. It's a B movie. It's a ridiculously small budget. It did not have the budget to hire proper actors.
Okay.
Though they do their best with really stilted lines that were written by an Italian woman who refused to use a translator and instead translated the movie herself in a library with an English-Italian dictionary.
Oh, wow.
It has some really, really wickedly weird lines. But having said that, this is a movie that could actually work. It has some really, really fun and creepy ideas. The final scenes, I still find that if you're willing to look past the special effects, and again, as I mentioned, I have a blind spot with those, really scary. So I would love to see a big budget version of that, keeping the same things, but, getting a little bit of professionalism into it.
That's interesting.
Mm.
Not a fan of horror, but you're selling me on it.
It's just a vegetarianism thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Death to vegetarians.
Yeah. But really, I'm mentioning this mostly as this idea of making remakes of B movies.
Okay.
Successful cult B movies. Because it's clear where you can improve them by throwing money at it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Highlander. They need to remake that one. I mentioned it earlier that I recommend it. Highlander was based on immortals fighting, and there can be only one, and when there's one at the end, he gets a prize, and spoiler warning, at the end of Highlander, there is only one left, because that's the whole thing of the movie. Afterwards, they tried to make sequels, and the more sequels they made, the worse they made it, because where do you go from there's only one left, and he's won, to making sequels that happen in the future, mind you, not in the past?
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
You go towards aliens saving the planet from pollution, with a summer shield, and everybody has to love each other and not fight to have babies.
Yes, that's where they went to. And
there you go.
And it failed completely miserably. It's at a point where the series is completely dead. You can't make anything with it. So you need to reboot it. So I think, you can make something good out of it. You can take the main ideas, immortals fighting, there can be only one. If you want to remake the movie, don't make it so that the guy wins the prize at the end of the first movie. Make it so that, it's a journey. He beats a bad guy and he keeps on, going towards his journey, and you can make a series out of those. And that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I agree. That's the thing with remakes. We touched upon it during the Don't F the original conversation, but that's where reboots and remakes are kind of useful, is when the series has long jumped the shark and there's nowhere to go. Might as well start from scratch,
Yeah. And it's the series Highlander jumped the shark in the second movie, and they kept on going it over and over. And that means that series has a following of people who like Highlander. So, and they want this thing to succeed. So a reboot, a remake of the first one is the way to go.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. Jump the shark. Yeah, Highlander didn't just jump the shark. He jumped the shark, nuked the fridge, and added the Cara Diogardi to the judges' panel. That's what it did.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even the first Highlander, when you think about it, it's a very uneven, kind of messy movie, even. The story and the dream it evokes is what drives the movie, and that awesome Queen soundtrack.
Yes.
But the movie itself is really all over the place. It's choppily edited, and it sort of moves at a breakneck speed towards nowhere.
I don't know. I really like that. Well, you start with a sword fight that comes out of nowhere, and then you kind of explain it, and I really enjoy where it came from.
Yeah.
And it not only with a sword fight, it starts with an awesome sword fight. Actually, I think the first sword fight is the best in the movie.
No, I agree with that. That's definitely true. And
then, you go from there and what's happening. But, even though the other sword fights towards the end are not as good, you're just drawn into the story. That's like, wow, this is good, and where are we going from here? And, I think it's a good movie, and it deserved, its following, and I think with good treatment, you could start something new with it.
Sorry about the noise you just heard. I dropped my mic.
So, what is your number one?
My number one. Okay, this is the one. All right. Twilight.
Oh God.
Now hear me out. I don't want just any Twilight remake, because it's based on the Stephanie Meyer's novels, and to be perfectly blunt, I think Stephanie Meyer's is the biggest problem with that series. But here's the thing: this time I'm not aiming towards commercial appeal, because obviously Twilight already has that.
Yeah.
I'm aiming towards critical appeal, because these movies are making loads of money, but the critics keep panning them and panning them and panning them. I still think the first movie is actually quite lovely. Not for me, because I have a penis, but lovely.
Prove it.
later. But here's what I want to see for the movie to gain critical appeal. Same characters, Edward, Taylor Lautner's Jacob, and crazy psycho lady, Kristen Stewart, what's her name? Bella.
Yeah.
But remove all the supernatural elements. It's all about this really horny teenager who really, really, really wants to sleep with her boyfriend. But he doesn't want to, not because he's a vampire, but because he has AIDS. Or HIV, not AIDS, HIV.
Wow.
And you could keep all the same beats, because Stephanie Meyer's, say what you will about her prose, which is overly flowery, but she has a very clear through line about, vampirism as a metaphor for, the dangers of sex and whatnot. So why not use an actual danger of sex by introducing a venereal disease? And he has HIV, and that's why, they love each other, they have the intense teenage lust, they really want to do each other, but they can't, because the dangers are too big.
Does she know he has HIV?
Yeah, she has to know, yeah. But
okay.
she says, you can wear a condom, and there's the cocktail now, it's not so much a big deal, I still want to do it. And he's like, he loves her, he just doesn't want to take a chance. So he's like, no, I'm a danger to you, Bella, I'm a danger to you.
Okay.
And do it that way. I kid you not, you could keep the entire singing beats for the first Twilight movie exactly the same, and critics would put them on their top 10 list for the year. They would be like, oh wow, it really speaks to teenagers and kids. Every kid should see that. It would be the same freaking movie.
Okay. I don't know I would go see that, but that's interesting.
So that's my number one pick, which I totally wasted. Your number one pick, please.
Number one pick, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Number one, really?
Yes.
Okay.
I love that series. That animated series was great. The movie was horrible. You can't take a 20-some episode series and try and condense it in 2 hours and keeping all the same episodes of everything that happened in the series. Who in their right mind thought that would work? It's ridiculous. But Avatar has a huge fan base. They're even making a new series. Following...
Yeah, Legend of Korra.
Yes, exactly. So they're making their series. So it's time. Just do it quickly. Remake the movies. Just write a simple story about the Avatar. Just make it how he has to learn waterbending, but don't go to all the twists and turns of the first movie. Make it about him, just going to the South Pole, learning, having a bunch of fights, because the effects were pretty cool, Airbender versus Firebender versus Earthbender. Just make it nice and fun action. Don't make it so lame as this movie was.
Yeah, I think that movie tried to achieve a little bit more than it really needed to. It also suffers from having either a bad or absentee director. A lot of people want to say it's M. Night Shyamalan, it's because he's a bad director. I don't actually agree with that. I don't think he's a bad director. I think he's an iffy writer. But, plotter. His writing itself is fine, but the plot, ooh.
Okay.
But as a director, I think he's actually really competent. I think he had his hands tied, and this is one of those producer-directed movies that you see once in a while.
Okay.
Especially when they hire a director that was hot when they hired him, and then had 2 flops in a row.
Oh.
When he actually started working on it. So.
Wow.
But I would take a different approach. I think I wouldn't simplify it too much. I think you're right that it tries to do too much, but I would take out the serial aspect of it, which means the trek across the world.
Yeah. The
trek across the map is the biggest problem if you try to insert that in the movie, because it's episodic by nature and it's too much material. Yeah. I would take the first book, the Water Book.
Yeah.
Take the first 2 episodes, condense them into one, because they're really slow paced anyway.
Yeah.
So that would probably take up a half an hour. Then take a random episode from the middle, hopefully something dealing with Zuko, because he's my favorite character and he's such a great villain.
Yeah.
And then take the last 2 episodes of that season.
Yeah.
And that would make the movie and into a single through line where he just travels to 2 places.
Yeah. He goes from the North Pole. Something happens in the middle there. You thought you learned about the Earth Nation and Zuko, like you said, and then all the way South Pole. And then he learns waterbending. That would be great.
Yeah.
What they did there was just...
Yeah, well, they also missed the spirit. Like, this is one where it's not a remake, but it's an adaptation, but they really F with the original right there because, well, the thing that bugs me the most about the movie is, of course, that the script gives a restriction to Aang that he doesn't have in the cartoon, which is that in his avatar state, he cannot harm other human beings.
What?
Yeah, it gives him that restriction. Yeah. And it misses the point. I don't want to spoil the series. Like, if you guys haven't seen it, go check it out on DVD. Like, I know a lot of older listeners might have skipped on it because it's Nickelodeon, it's for kids, and the drawings are really cute. But, like, seriously, it's a complex, engaging story for people of all age. And certainly, as an adult, I got a lot out of it.
Yeah.
And but without getting too much into spoilers, the idea of him not being able to hurt other human beings completely destroys the entire point of season 2 and the first half of season 3.
Yeah.
Because those seasons are all about the angst that he lives through with having the responsibility and power to really change the world.
Yeah.
In destructive ways.
I know. And no, that's really messing with the spirit of the cartoon. Yeah. So, no, you need to remake it. Just remake it real quick. Shouldn't take long to film.
Yeah.
A couple of months.
Oh, yeah, sure. Or, whatever. You know what would be great also? Hire Asian actors. I think that would be great. I think it was a missed opportunity as well. It's not that I particularly mind when they change the race of a character, but in the case of Avatar: The Last Airbender, it's just so entrenched in Asian mysticism and mythology and iconography that seeing a little white dude in a Tibetan monk monastery and say I grew up there, I mean, it's possible because it's in an alternate world, but it's also incredibly distracting.
That's true.
Yeah. Plus, Asians on TV, not a bad thing. I mean, like, it would be great to have some. And, like, I don't like where they have active roles, not like in Glee, where their only role is to mention that they're Asian every 2 seconds and then suffer a stupid racist pot shot that the TV makers are going like, well, we're making fun of the stereotype, not the stereotypees. And it's like, yes, I get that, but at the same time, you've been making the same pot shot for 22 episodes in a row. It's coming across differently at this point.
But tell us how you really feel.
No, it's not really anger. I just think it's.
No, I understand.
We're starting to have Black Americans being more represented in movies.
Yeah.
And certainly we should continue. And we finally have, like, Will Smith is the biggest box office grosser.
Yeah. In
the world, and he's Black. And let's face it, 10 to 15 years ago that would never have happened. So already there's been progress made. It would be nice if. To give that same opportunity to other races as well. And Asians is one where, roles can one day finally go to someone else than, Daniel Day Kim.
Yeah. Especially if the role is meant for, Asian actor.
Yeah.
Like Avatar. You really feel, it's not an anime, but it really feels like it.
Yeah.
So it should totally go there.
I think so. And I'm sure you can find some pretty cool actors.
Yeah.
Just go on Disney Channel. Disney has been very good about being very equal opportunity in its casting, and you can find plenty of Asian kids.
Jet Li's short enough to play Aang.
True, but I don't know that he can play that angst.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it for us. If you have any questions, comments, you can write us at mail@idiomanic.com or post a comment right below the episode at idiomanic.com. And next week, we'll be doing the opposite. We'll be talking about remakes that we do not want to see.
Yep. See you next week.
See ya.
It has, very good fun. It was a good starting point for a series that kind of spiraled downwards afterwards. But it's an enjoyable movie. What about you, Dimitri?
Well, I'm going to recommend Clue, because that's going to be remade. That they've just announced that's been greenlit, which seems such an odd idea. But the 1985 movie Clue, which is based on the board game, that stars Tim Curry and a whole bunch of great comedians. It's a great movie. It's a murder mystery parody, as you would expect a Clue movie to be, and the jokes are actually really funny. I highly recommend it. The DVD has an option to do that 3 times to show all the endings, but the DVD now has that way of doing it, but also has the option of random ending generator, which when you watch the movie, it just picks a random ending to it, which I think is pretty cool.
And all endings work? There's no flaw in cheating in any of them?
Well, it's Clue. It barely makes sense. It's a comedy, you know. I mean, the ending makes sense in context, but it's like there's no real way of guessing it because it's just a big fat comedy.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. It's a hilarious movie. Tim Curry in it is really, really funny. So I recommend that.
Okay.
All right, well, let's get to our little discussion proper. And we'll be back after these words from our sponsors. And we're back!
Not as much.
1, 2, 3.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Idiomanic Top 3!
With Nicholas, I am the gaming correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic and movie critic. So, today we're going to talk about remakes, we're going to talk about the mechanics, and later on we're going to do our top 3 remakes that we want to see. But before we do that, let's go into something I like to call show and tell.
Alright, here it is.
Wow. Now, instead of recommending remakes, which we're going to do on another episode, we thought we'd recommend original movies remade or that have been remade. Or being remade or that have been remade. I don't know what we decided on.
Either or, that are currently being remade, that are going to be being remade that we know of. Okay,
Yeah.
Don't just recommend any movie and say hopefully in the future it's going to be remade.
Yeah. Alright, so why don't you get us started, Nick?
I'm going to recommend Highlander. A movie with Christopher Lambert and Sean Connery that's going to be remade. It's a good movie. It's good fun. It's a little campy, but it's good action. And it's about immortals fighting for a prize. They have to chop their heads off. And it's really fun. You have flashbacks from the past because they're immortal. They've lived a very long time. You see what happened in their past. And
For it, that's pretty neat because when the movie came out in 1985, there were 3 or 4 different endings filmed for it. And different theaters had different endings. So depending on which theater you went to, you would get a different ending to the movie Clue.
Okay.
When it came out in video cassette, VHS, those are the plastic things with film strips in them, and they're black, and you put them in a VCR.
Yeah, and they get stuck sometimes, and you have to pull them out.
Yeah, and when you rewind, you can't skip scenes. Anyway, kids, it's before your time. But when it came out on home video that way, they just put all 3 endings together with Tim Curry going like, "That's what happened," and it was like, "No, that's not what happened. That's what happened," and he would